Hey everybody, DIY Dad here, back for another video, and behind me is my new to me Silverado 2500 that we bought to pull the upgrade for that camper, which we're going to be trading in very shortly. So I've owned this thing for about a month, so of course upgrades have already started. And the one that we're going to take a look at today has to do with the tow mirrors. So the tow mirrors on Chevy are pretty epic. They actually have people installing these on Rams, things like that, because they do work very well, but they do look fairly ugly, including this light, which is a yellow light. That's a yellow daytime running light and doesn't blink, so it doesn't flash even though it's indicator colored. So what we're going to do today is we're going to install switchbacks, which are a much more modern look. So it'll be two white LEDs here and then they'll switch to yellow as they go. To do that, we're going to have to take this apart. So here we go. This is the kit we're going to be using for this. You see, this is the dynamic amber and DRL turn signal kit. Got this off of Amazon. I believe it was Amazon or eBay, one of the two. It was about 40 bucks for this upgrade, and what it doesn't come with are any sorts of instructions. So looking at it, see the light itself. Off the back, we've got the small harness and this little pigtail here, which is probably for the switchback function. And looking at the box, the other side, we also have these wiring adapters. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of feeling around in the dark here as we work with this, because like I said, no instructions at all. We're gonna do something dangerous here and apply some logic. So this plug is, I'm assuming, the regular kind of running light plug like you're going to see on the stock lights as well. Then we've got this cable that comes out with this little black female plug. This plug will interface with that directly, so obviously those two are going to connect together, and then this is a pass-through. So I'm going to guess we have a wire coming out of the mirror that looks like this. We're going to put this jumper in the middle, run this extension out to here, and that's going to give us our switchback function. That's our theory. Apologize for the wind, it's a little bit breezy out here. So now we have to get this light out. Now to do that, you'll notice there are no screws anywhere on this mirror housing. So what we're going to have to do is take this apart, starting at the glass and working our way in. So we're going to pull both of these lenses off. That should give us access to the screws for this shroud. And we'll pull that off, and that should give us access to the lights. So we're going to work our way that way. This is a 2015 Silverado. The information that I have is that this one comes off fairly easy. Just tilt it down as far as it'll go. Get our fingers in there. We should be able to pop that one out. And then this one either comes off by prying it directly out, or it has kind of a clip function that will allow it to snap free. So we'll experiment with that a little bit. Bottom glass came out pretty easy, so it was just tilt this mirror like that to give you access, get your fingers in here and pry, and this will pop out. Now in a 2015 and newer, this top piece comes off pretty easy as well. What you're gonna wanna do is flex it back like this, and you're gonna push up, and it'll actually kind of snap free, and then you can sort of maneuver it back down, and the whole thing will pull out like that. So you don't have to pry it. It just has these little guide pins. So it's just a question of getting underneath it and giving it pressure upwards. That'll pop it loose, and then just kind of hinge it free. Once you do that, you'll see there are two wires on the back that have to do with the defogger for the glass. We're going to pull those. And then there's this wire, which is the signal wire for the turn signal on the side here. We're going to pull that as well. And that one, looking at it, is the same as my jumper wire. So it makes sense. This is the signal wire we're going to tap for the new switchback light. So we'll plug this into our adapter, and that'll go to the new light that we're going to install. So I'm going to pull these out, and then I'm going to take this piece of glass and set it inside the truck on the seat where it's not going to fall and get broken. So with the glass removed, we now have access to the screws for the shroud. There are 5 of them. One here, one up here, and then 2 on the bottom. These are T25 Torx. So I'm going to go grab my Torx set, and we can pull those out. And this shroud should just pop loose. There will be a wire here for this reverse/cargo light. So when we start pulling this loose, we have to be aware of that. And then just looking at it, there's a tab that goes back here behind the motor. So we're gonna have to probably kind of maneuver it out this way to get this loose, pull that wire off, and then this whole thing should be able to be set aside. The shroud came off pretty easy. The trick was to take this motor and kind of push it up and to the side to give you access to get this tab out. And then there's this one plug that goes onto the back here that just pulled straight off, and this can get inside with the rest of it. That'll get us access on the inside. One thing I forgot to mention, because of the way these collapse when you have the towing mirror pressed into the truck, you are going to want to give yourself a little bit of room by pulling this towing mirror out before you do this. So just extend it out. And then I kind of have it pivoted forward just because the light is better. It doesn't really matter. So looking then at the wires that we've got our various plugs for this, and we have our light. And this light looks to be held in by just 2 screws. So one at the top, one at the bottom, and then we should be able to kind of flex the plastic out of the way and pull the old housing out. I'd suggest being a little cautious with this next part, because with these 2 screws removed, this whole thing is very loose. Most of this assembly is now just held together by some pressure clips. So when you're pulling this apart, be careful that these pieces don't fall off and drop to the floor and get damaged. So this is also how you get access to take these covers off. Later project, I'm going to replace this chrome with a painted cover and match it to the white of the truck, but we'll do that at a much later date. So now to get this light out, see the whole thing is just kind of sitting loose in here. So we should be able to kind of flex these trim pieces out of the way, and then this piece is going to come this way. So it'll turn kind of towards me as it pulls out. And then the new light should be able to slide back in the same way and get screwed in place. Don't worry about wiring it. And before we do that, there is one wire for this light as well that needs to come out. So this plug right here does need to get pulled out as well. So pop that out of the way. Then the whole thing should be free and you should be able to kind of work it out. It's a little bit of a pain because it's behind this. So you're gonna have to kind of pull this cover piece out of the way in order to get that to pop out. So just kind of work at it a little bit, slide these pieces back, and you can see the clearance that you need to get these out. Apologies for the wind, but the old light did come out. It took a little bit of doing. It was kind of stuck down here, so I had to pull this piece forward, get the entire light to pop forward and up, and I was able to wiggle it out. So here's the new light. It's the same exact size, so this will go into this space. You can see already it's going to look quite a bit better. So I'm going to get this light maneuvered into place, and then we'll pull this little plastic protection cover off, and then we'll get her wired and screwed back in. All right, the light's in place. Kind of a pain in the butt to do, if I'm honest. Scratched it slightly, so do leave the plastic cover on. What I found is I took the chrome cover piece off the top that let it flex a little bit easier, which was necessary. It kind of got it in up above and then slotted it down. That seemed to work, but really it's just sort of getting whatever angle is going to work for you. Once it's in place, then you can kind of line up all of the plastics again. And at that point, we're going to screw it back in using the exact same screws you used before. All your screw holes should line up and everything should seat right back in place, just like the stock light. Once the light's screwed back in, make sure you plug in this main wire and then route this red extension wire off of the new light up. You're going to place that along with these wires right here, kind of up into the outer shroud portion of this. Actually, as I'm looking at it, I could do it either way. So you can either get this plugged in with the little adapter in the back and then just route that part forward. That might be a little bit cleaner. I think we'll do it that way. So ignore the last few seconds what I just said. So we're going to take this and we're going to take our little adapter and we're going to plug this in to here, and we're going to plug it into this wire, and then we're just going to take the male wire that comes out of this, and that's what's going to get routed up with these 2 lights, or 2 wires for the defogger, and those will go into the mirror glass piece. This is going to get plugged back into the shroud. That's going to be for our reverse lights. So ran into a bit of a snag. I don't know if you'll have the same problem, but this adapter is ill-suited for my truck, even though my truck is listed as one of the ones this is meant for. So this plug will plug into the mirror glass for the signal light, so that works fine. But this plug, which should be receiving this one out of the mirror itself, is the wrong style. They don't interface together. So what I'm going to end up having to do is cut the end off of this and the end off of this and splice these 2 together. So I'll do that and then wrap that all up in tape so that I just have this wire coming out of the top to plug into the mirror. So we'll make it work, but unfortunately these 2 do not mate together properly, which is too bad. So minor extra step, but if you do have that problem, it's just match the wire colors red to red and black to black, and you should be fine. So I figured since I was going to be cutting this wire anyway, I'd try a different experiment first. What I did is I took the existing plug and I just cut the sides off of it, leaving the 2 pins in place. And this does now mate up perfectly with my factory plug. So I'm going to slide these 2 together. It's not going to be super secure because the little tabs and things that would lock them together are no longer there. Sorry about the wind. So once I slide them together, I'll wrap it in electrical tape just to hold it, but it saves me a little bit of time on wire splicing. Shroud is reinstalled. So you can see I've got my 2 wires here for the defogger, and then I routed this one. It was a little bit odd with the pigtail, but routed it out through the side here. And that'll plug into my signal light on the mirror and it should be lined up and allow it to move freely with the mirror getting adjusted. So now we'll get that plugged in and then we'll do a test and see where we're at. Just to show this too as we're piecing this back together. So I've got my defogger lights, or defogger wires, I keep saying lights, set up here. And when this mirror goes on the 15 and later, there are these 4 tabs that are pointed up and then these pockets. So what you're gonna do is line it up kind of along the edge here. Use these guide pins to help get it really lined up, and then you're going to push it in and then click it down, and that'll click it down into these tabs. So it's not like the other style where it's like pressure held on like we have down below. With this one you want to get it lined up and then you're just going to push down. So to do that you'll have to have the mirror kind of adjusted properly. Not too difficult, just get it lined up. It'll kind of push in and then you can tilt it this way and push down. It should click kind of down into place. You'll feel it snap into place. This bottom one is just pressure clips then, so you kind of get it aligned and just push straight on and you'll hear it kind of snap on. All right, so even in daylight you can see the effect of this. So I've got the headlights on, so this is the white DRLs are all lit up. And then if I switch it over to my blinker just by hitting the unlock on my car, it's going to be a sequential blinker, so it slides this way. But even, like I said, bright direct sunlight, those are still plenty bright. Doesn't show up real well on the camera, but nice. Very clean. I like it. And there we have it. It really changed the look of this truck. I'm very happy with how this came out. It's a much more modern appearance. I kind of really disliked the yellow when I first bought this truck, so this is much cleaner, much nicer. I may do some more with this kind of as we get into the summer here with painting these caps, probably freshening up the black and show you how I do that on these trucks as well, and then changing out the running boards and got a whole bunch of stuff planned. So this being the end of a DIY dad video, I owe you a dad joke. So did you hear about the guy who was hit by a truck carrying omega-3 products? He said his injuries were mostly caused by superficial oil factors. Okay, that one was a stretch. So what did the stop sign say to the pickup truck? Stop. All right, remember, with any DIY project, it doesn't have to be perfect. Most important step is just to do it. No one's going to see the flaws unless you point them out to them. Take care. Have a good day. We'll see you on the next video. Bye.